Oh, this is about to be a fantastic conversation. On the left, Candace Owens, darling of conservative values, darling of the right, harbinger of the thought culture today, married in a loving relationship, versus Destiny. On the right, Super Saiyan of the left, Super Saiyan, Ultra Instinct of the woke, recently out of a marriage, divorce, likes to engage in cuck-like behavior, seemingly from a relationship perspective, that complete opposite of Candace Owens, are going to battle in a battle of ideology, in a battle of opinion supremacy. In it, we're going to see a ridiculous amount of strong black women come out in each of the contestants. But we must decide whose ideologies prevail. So we must get active. Without further ado,
they are not the most literate.
You think people that graduate with college degrees can't read well?
Yeah, what I'm telling you is yes. That's what I'm telling you. They're not the most literate.
What would I look up to verify that? If I wanted to see, like,
you got to do the research in your own time.
I have done the research.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Not true.
What do you mean it's not true? And I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, hold on. Let me explain. Hold on. I'm sorry, because I've done a lot of research on college degrees, been a lot of research on education, and every single thing that you're saying sounds really good on like a culture war perspective. But when you look at an actual economic perspective, when you look at actual firms that hire people, and when you look at the actual median wages given to people that even have some college education, all of it
is me going to school.
All of it, that's great for you, but for the average American, that's just not true. None of these numbers are found on average. You will never find data that supports the idea that high school earners on average are out-earning college degree earners.
Every single person that I went to school with is not using the degrees that they paid for.
What did you go to college for?
Journalism.
Isn't that what you're doing right now?
What do you mean? You're acting like you're a college dorm kid.
Yeah, and your catty insults towards people online make you seem like a high school mean girl. What are you doing here? What's going on?
I just did PBD, Patrick Bet-David. Mm-hmm. They know you over there, right? Are you laughing?
Maybe. I know. I'm good. Do you know Adam over there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just asked Adam. He was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know Adam. Me and Adam are cool. I'm not as much sure about the PBD guy. I'm pretty... I'm a pretty far left guy, and I disagree with a lot of stuff they say in a pretty crazy way.
They got both on that show. That's why it's so great. I just did something with Chris Cuomo. He couldn't be further left. That's what I just did.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, but when they bring on left guys, it's usually to roast the fuck out of them, so.
No, that's not what happened at all.
Oh, that might not have happened this time. That's what I've seen. When I had Anthony Weiner on, it was that. When I've seen other left-leaning guys go on, it's usually like raking them over the coals.
Well, one of them is on the left, right?
Which guy?
So, I really thought that Adam just said I've never voted for a Republican, but I might vote Republican.
I think Adam is fair.
Yeah.
I think Adam is fair generally from what I've seen, but he's like center at best. Okay. And I'm not even like a communist type guy, but I mean like Adam is like pretty center. Like he's like a, I just don't think he's behind all the Trump stuff.
But why laugh if I'm like, I just went Patrick Bet-David? It's like, haha, like what's that?
Oh, sorry. In my world, there's a lot. There's always like a lot of drama and people hitting each other behind. So I just laugh because it's funny because I'm not sure if those guys hate me or not. I've been on their show once. They seem like cool people, but the Patrick guy has said kind of weird things about me or my fan base before. So it's kind of like a funny. It's just a funny thing. There wasn't anything deeper to that, I promise.
Oh, okay. No, I was just curious. I was like, because you would go on a platform with someone on the right, presumably.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, because you said because I'm on the left when I asked you, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, why we need more conversations. It doesn't need to be, I'm on the left, I'm on the right. It's like, what do you actually think? You know, what do you actually believe?
Sure, I agree for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
What are you talking about mainly over the past week or two? What's the stuff that's captured your attention, your eyes the most?
Man, I talk about everything on my show. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest topic for me has been the Diddy lawsuit. It's the craziest thing that's come out, I think, since Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. And it's definitely significant because a lot of the work that I do is talking about or I guess really asking the question is what's happened to black culture? Because this is not the black culture that I grew up with. And the Diddy lawsuit potentially answers a lot of those questions. So
do you say where you grew up?
I was born in White Plains, New York, and I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay. What can you catch us up on the P. Diddy lawsuit? I haven't been in this area as much.
Are you kidding?
My mind has been, I've done Israel-Palestine for the last 4 years, or 4 months, and then like a whole bunch of red pill stuff before that, so my mind is not.
Yeah, he did. You know what's interesting about this is that Destiny being as far left-leaning as what he is, but also not knowing the gravity of the Diddy situation explains a component of the issue. The media, which is in bed with these left-leaning ideologies, refuse to cover a story that potentially implicates them, as in this Diddy story. Let's go.
In case
Catch
you
us
guys
up.
have not seen it, you can go over to my YouTube channel. I've been covering it, and if you're there, definitely subscribe. But so essentially, at the end of last year, Diddy was dating that girl Cassie for a long time, about 10 years.
Okay.
And she started making allegations that Diddy was very into some very sexually deviant things, that I would say.
Okay.
And forced her to do a lot of things against her will, or drugs, whatever. She files this lawsuit, and basically overnight, I'm obviously being a bit hyperbolic, but he pays her off, so it ends. And then Cat Williams kind of alludes to the fact that more stuff is going to come out in 2024, and then a producer whose name is Rodney drops a lawsuit, and he alleges to have, hundreds of hours of footage backing up his claims. And in the lawsuit, he actually dropped pictures. So it wasn't just this, because you can always have a frivolous lawsuit. It can mean nothing. And what essentially his lawsuit suggests, allegedly, just for protection here, is that there's a blackmail ring in Hollywood. Diddy is a gangster. On top of Diddy sits Lucian Grange, who is the CEO of Universal Music Group. And this was, for me, one of the wildest parts. He tells a story about one night where Diddy got mad at somebody and just shot them in the stomach and the hip. He shows the pictures of the blood all around the bathroom because he was right there when the person got shot, and he allegedly went to his knees and tried to help the person. It was Diddy and his son who allegedly shot him. But they said that there's one person that you call when something like that happens, and that guy's name is Fahim something, and he will come clean it up. The LAPD will write a fake police report, and he shows how the news then reported that the shooting happened outside, and then it got wiped under the rug. And what's interesting is that guy who you call, the security guy, was the same security person who was one of only 2 people there when Michael Jackson died.
Crazy.
So it's now reopened, all the Michael Jackson stuff.
You shouldn't just reopen the Michael Jackson stuff. You should also reopen the Kim Porter stuff as well. To have her at her age die of pneumonia out of nowhere. Alarm bells should be ringing, going off in your head. Kim Porter was actually also set to release a biography detailing her experiences, and of course her experiences with Diddy.
Kim, it was alleged that she did have a book, and that her book was about to come out. And she was talking about all the perils, everything that she went through in the music business and with Diddy. All the men that they slept with together, because there were men that they slept with together. There were swinging times that they slept with together. I don't know, man. How do you put your girl through some shit like that? Or how you look at your girl and knowing that she sexing another dude? What kind of demonic mind you have to be that far gone where that shit don't bother you for somebody that you love? But Kim Book was going to express all that.
Potentially implicating him in this blackmail ring that Candace Owens is speaking about. By the way, the Farad Muhammad gentleman that Candace just brought up, that guy apparently graduated from Sacramento State University at the same year that he was head of security for Michael Jackson. How could you be graduating from college at the same time as being head of security for the #1 pop star in the world? Pay attention.
Super interesting. A lot of stuff that I would say, a lot of proof presented in these documents. Like I said, there's a lot of photos included. And if what he is spelling out is correct, then it's basically a homosexual ring that works by blackmails. They host these, what he calls freak-offs, and they drug people and they get them to sleep with a minor or do something, that you wouldn't want publicized.
Epstein
and then
shit.
They own you, right? Because it's we have you on camera doing this, and so you're going to say or do whatever I want. So very much like the Jeffrey Epstein stuff.
Gotcha. Are these in indictments, or are these just affidavits or statements to the media? Is any of this stuff gone to court yet?
It's the lawsuit that he filed. So we're reading the lawsuit documents directly.
This is a civil lawsuit, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay.
He's suing Universal Music Group. He's suing Lucian Grange personally, he alleges that Lucy Grange and Diddy are in a relationship by saying that like they disappear into Diddy's room and for hours, and like this is the stuff that I've seen. I was groomed for sex. Like essentially he wasn't a gay man, but then Diddy found him when he was young. These are the allegations he's making. Again, a lot of photos like of other rappers. He's named like Cuba Gooding Jr., who's an actor.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Is there has any of this stuff like leaked to the media in terms of like pictures or strong hard evidence, or are these mainly just in the charging documents or the civil case documents so far?
That's also what's really interesting is that yes, it's being covered, but not in the way that it should be covered. The fact that you don't know about it, to me, is crazy, because we've never seen someone that with hundreds of hours of footage putting in photos like, here's a picture of the drugs that I have to carry at all times to keep Diddy high. Here's the name of the woman that gets the drugs. Here's a drug dealer. Here's a photo of me with this person. Here's the blood on the floor that night. It's like we've never seen this much proof to make those claims. So it's definitely something to watch.
Somebody said, I just see in chat, somebody said over 100 million to the first civil suit that got settled in less than 24 hours. Is that true?
What's that? Over 100 million to
the first civil suit that got settled in less than 24 hours.
Did that happen with this?
Cassie?
I have no idea.
You might be talking about Cassie. That got settled pretty quickly.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
And yeah, that Diddy's basically just
The number was hidden.
at the top of a gang, and the person that's above him is Lucy Grange, which is just wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? You made a mention that this might be an indicator to things that have happened with Black culture. What do you mean by that, I guess?
So there has been just a very obvious corrosion in Black culture. Like the music that I grew up in, I was listening to The Temptations, Lauryn Hill, like it was all about like family, love. It was real talent. And then something just really shifted and it all became about derogatory, debased gangster rap. And it's the change that I've noted in a lot of my commentary. And you know, I think other people have, like I asked the question, there's a really, in my view, disgusting artist, just in terms of the stuff that she publishes and the photos that she publishes, named Sexy Red, who they're now making a thing, right? Who makes the decision to sign a Sexy Red? You're telling me you have all the money and all the talent at your fingertips, and you sign a woman who at her baby shower, 9 months pregnant, however pregnant she was twerking and had her butt cheeks in, like somebody's face was inside of her butt cheeks. That to me is very intentional, because you're not signing her based on talent. You're not signing her based on following. You're signing her because it's filth.
Right.
And you're perpetuating this filth into my community. So it's just something that I've noticed, something that I talk about often, that we're intentionally being sold crack, it feels like. You know?
It's crazy. It's so important what it is that she said, right? Intentionally being sold crack. You release an addictive substance within a neighborhood, it's going to destroy that community around that. If addictive substances don't work, what else can be created that's already addicting? But if you insert little pills in there of debased bullshit that can destroy the mindset of the youth to allow them to be further controlled, it's through music. Even think about the history of music and rhythm and dance, how far that we go back as a people in the importance to us. As long as we've been telling stories to each other, we've been chanting and singing. It's almost baked into the human psyche. But utilizing Sexy Reds, who, by the way, allegedly purposely releases S-tapes of herself, who, while pregnant, is shown twerking. 9 months pregnant, about to pop. Her innards are dilated 8 centimeters at least, but she sold herself to the devil of the industry to inflict that mind virus into young women today is absolutely insane. I mean, even from a male perspective, the amount of gangster rappers that have come out later and said, yeah, that really wasn't my lifestyle, is absolutely insane. And it makes you think, okay, who's implanting this?
So I'm trying to think of which direction I want to go.
Any direction you want. I'm an open book.
Yeah, you're fine. There are like two kind of different ways of viewing this. And I feel like you fall more to one side and I'll go my side, and then we can kind of see if we can iron out or figure where we are at, I guess, in the middle here. I feel like when you look at the evolution of, when we say like degenerate Black culture or degenerate Black music, I think we're generally talking about like the beginning of hip hop and rap, and then kind of the evolution of that going forward, coming away from like the R&B singers and everybody like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or whatever, right?
Yeah. But hip hop isn't always filth. But yeah, I get your point.
But that seems like
we're
the general.
generalizing. Yeah.
It feels like when I look at music, or if I look at music that people create, oftentimes the music is a reflection of their circumstances. And you can see, especially as America and the black communities became more conscientious maybe of the ghettos that they'd been kind of pushed into, or the policing situations that they'd had to be a part of, or drugs destroying their communities, et cetera, et cetera. And then those people turning to crime, that you also see the music and the art kind of reflect those conditions.
Becoming conscious is fight the power. It's not my pussy pink, my booty hole brown. What are you saying, Destiny?
And then those pieces of art that get created, especially the music, end up being like worldwide popular. Like the most popular genre of music in the world is like hip hop and rap. So when I look at people pushing certain stuff today, I'm like, okay, well, we got two really big, in my opinion, I went to school for music. I don't know if you talk about the saxophone or whatever. So we had two really big contributions to the world of music from America. One was jazz, that came basically from the black community. And then the second was like rap and hip hop. These forms of music become popular.
And
people
rock.
see that it's popular. They want to get involved. Obviously, the money men, the people on top, they want to kind of continue to push this because it's popular, and everybody around the world consumes it. I feel like there are a lot of market forces at work that kind of perpetuate this and keep this happening. And that feels pretty satisfying to me to explain what's going on. So when we ask, like, why is it a woman twerking with somebody's face in her butt cheeks? Because, well, for whatever reason, that's like what the worldwide culture seems to want to see right now. And then on the other side, it feels like from people, I don't want to just say conservatives, but I would say broadly speaking, I guess I'll say on your side in general, it feels like there's this idea that there's this much more intentional or like malevolent force working behind the scenes.
Yes, there is. And so I'm going to push back on what you're suggesting here. You're suggesting that this reflects the community, and they're sharing their stories in a way that makes sense. That's completely not true. Okay, WAP does not reflect the circumstances that black people are living in. They're saying about your vagina and how hard it's getting pounded is not the circumstance of living in the hood. I come from nothing. It's not that did not make me feel closer to the circumstances that I grew up in. And unfortunately, that's actually what people are telling black Americans. Like, actually, it's working the other way. You're putting something, your eyes and your ears are the windows to the soul. And you're basically, when you celebrate someone, and I'm using Cardi B here as an example because I think people are probably more familiar with her than they are with Sexy Red. When you put someone like that on the Grammys stage, which is, again, a decision being made. When I was growing up, the best, most talented people were on the Grammy stage. It was something you could watch with your family.
True talent.
And you still had poor people. You still had, you still had poor people. You still had people that were living in the hood. Okay, we didn't need somebody talking about their vagina in order to feel seen. So what you're doing is you're setting the stage for younger girls who aspire to celebrities to say, okay, well, if I mimic that behavior, I too can become famous. What you're actually doing is you're setting the idols that people are going to look up to, and people are going to think this is what I should aspire to.
Destiny's argument, explained a little bit differently, is like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because he describes it as market forces that just push in the direction, and then this is the kind of music business or the economic cycle as thus selected by the audience that can select it. Whereas Candace is saying, no, degeneracy has been plateaued or put on a pedestal for so long, specific to the black community, that now we're not even selecting based off of talent. Our Grammy winners are not based off of talent. They're plants. Because a Sexy Red is not even talented. She can barely string words together. She can barely rap. The words barely rhyme. But somehow this gets all of the airplay. We are not selecting it. We're being forced into it. Because if you're not urban, if you're suburban American and you wouldn't touch crack, well, how about we'll make you touch music? By the way, name a Sexy Red, a Megan Thee Stallion, a Cardi B in any other race that has gained as much popularity as these women. These women are tools to inflict a mind virus, and that mind virus is culminating in less families. And we all know that families are the cornerstone of a race. See, they canceled Rick Ross for rapping about dropping pills and drinks, but they didn't cancel Cardi B for drugging men and taking their money. His career went on hiatus, but hers didn't. And what is the construction, the media construction above her that allows amnesty?
So it's actually working in the exact opposite way.
Can I ask a question? In that like evolution of things, so if we look at like WAP in particular, hasn't it generally been the case that music is always kind of pushing these sexual boundaries. So it might have been Elvis grabbing his crotch and dancing. It might have been Michael Jackson's dancing is incredibly suggestive if you've seen that. It might have been in Woodstock, all the loser hippies talking about love, sex, and rock and roll and drugs. Wouldn't like WAP just be kind of like the next evolution in a long chain of
pushing boundaries is not degeneracy, okay? And so here's what I'll say to you. Why don't you pull up the lyrics to WAP and read them right now?
Well, I don't. Why would I need to do that?
It's just Woodstock. We're just pushing. We're just pushing the boundaries a little bit.
She's good.
You probably have never even read the lyrics to WAP.
I think I did because I think Ben Shapiro had a huge thing about it.
He couldn't have said. You may have seen him reading the sanitized version of WAP, not the one that is not sanitized. Like
She's
the
good.
sanitized one, which is still bad, that she can perform at the Grammys, is what he read. You should read the lyrics to WAP before you make commentary that it's a reflection of what Black Americans are living through, or it's just somebody that's pushing a boundary. It's not that.
How do you explain the fact that like WAP was like a #1 like worldwide hit then?
Because what I said to you is that they are artificially creating artists at this point. There's no question. And by the way, the Diddy docs, which I found to be a very compelling point, was that Diddy said to the guy, allegedly, who was the producer, that if he was willing to engage in homosexual behavior with him, that he would get him Producer of the Year Grammy. Okay, so what does that tell you? It means that the entire system is artificial. And by the way, this is something that Kanye said 10 years ago, or however long ago it was, when he took the trophy from Taylor Swift and said, like, this is all fake. This is not even based on merit anymore. And that is my point. The industry is not based on merit. It's not based on capitalism. It is based on selling ideas. So it is, who do we want to artificially make the person that every Black girl will look up to, or who they will aspire to? And
so I can definitely understand that, like, maybe award shows can be rigged, or people can think different things about, you know, who's being awarded based on merits for the Grammys or something like that. But like WAP was genuinely, do you think it wasn't genuinely a popular song, or do you think that music execs have the ability to manufacture that desire publicly?
The latter. So if you start playing something tons of times on the
It's all on the
airways,
radio.
the latter, you can definitely make something popular. There are songs that I don't
radio
even like,
shows.
that I've heard so much that I know every single lyric to. And I'm like, I don't even know how I know every single lyric to this song, but it's received this many plays. You put it everywhere. You award the person, you invite them to bizarre circumstance. Like, there's absolutely no reason that Cardi B is invited to sit down and ask questions to Joe Biden.
So
In no scenario, unless you are really making an effort to legitimize this person and to make this person aspirational. Again, this is not an insult to Cardi. I actually think that personality-wise, she's got a ton of talent and she's interesting, and I've said great things about her on Love and Hip Hop, and there are elements of her that make her a star. But what I am saying is that a lot of that is manufactured, and I just don't see how anybody, when looking
Don't you think it's entirely possible?
You got to understand how easy it is to trick people. Key propaganda. Democratic Party leader wants Black vote. Sit down with one of the most degenerate voices within rap. Let's vote for Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden obviously supports us. Oh, look at him. Look at him talking to our queen. Are you serious? How easy it is to convince you of absolutely anything. Open your eyes and do better.
Possible or easily possible. So like, I feel like there's like so many things wrong with this. So one is, why wouldn't competing record labels start pushing talent that's actually popular that people want to hear? I think that would be a big question. The second thing would be, how can we explain the top-down domination of this type of media popularity through all of our reality TV shows, all of our TikTok stuff, all of our YouTube videos, and the music industry? And then how can you explain that all happening worldwide?
Sure.
Like, it feels like that to try to explain this through through people that are exercising control on these platforms would require more control than anybody has ever been able to exercise on any platform ever. And they're doing it like on a multi-country, multi-stage level.
It's just called, it's very easy actually. It's a very basic concept pertaining to governments. They need propaganda. Hollywood is propaganda. You should, for those of you that are watching this live, go listen to the conversation that Joe Rogan had with Cat Williams, where he talked about all of this. And he said, I know you think that you're being entertained. And this is somebody that comes from inside of the industry. And he starts talking about the Diddy stuff, the idea that in order to climb higher, you kind of have to engage in nefarious behavior.
What's interesting about that is that we saw a video of Kevin Hart calling at Diddy early in his career, but then later on we see Kevin Hart wearing dresses.
No homo, no, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close, but it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man.
First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna If we can, just let's just put the camera a little this way.
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, I mean, damn, pause, but like,
Hey,
just out.
yo.
I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older.
Yo, look at the uncomfortability on Usher's face. Please, Diddy, no, don't say it, no.
His older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up.
What the fuck did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes. And we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was stupid.
That's exactly what Cat Williams was referring to. In order to make it up higher, you have to mesh into the elites that have all of the money. You also see this with like popular younger live streamers as well. I mean, you legitimately watch these young boys act gay towards each other as sort of like a ritual. Charleston White actually talked about that. And I got a video on my channel detailing that. Actually talked about that after going on Aiden Ross's channel about 6 or so months ago.
Hold on, nigga, no women in sight. It was never no break on the gayism. It was 24/7. It was like playing against a basketball team. They run a full court press the whole 4 quarters. They do this the whole game. You think they ain't gonna call no turnovers?
Did your companion have any weird vibes as well?
Yeah, she was looking at me crazy.
Like, what the hell are you doing here?
She said, in the midst of all this, if you go with this, you gay. It was no girls, homie, amongst all this money. And everybody got on brand new tennis shoes, jewelry, necklaces. Why you got this on and ain't no bitches around? So when that white boy, XPQ, whatever his motherfucking name is, when he stood up and said, I kissed this person, I kissed that person, I kissed this person, I got up from the goddamn table and said, man, I'm not having no parts of this. He said, that's not gay. Aiden said, well, hey, me and you kissed Q. He said, so that don't make us gay, we're 2 friends. By the time I'm cold to the pool, they already drunk and gone. They still ain't got no girls.
What's interesting about that is that now you see Charleston White beginning to continue to work with Aiden Ross. So even those that are proclaiming to be the truth seekers, you slowly start to see them shift when you put more money in front of them.
And how he was collecting all of this information and he was speaking out about what was happening inside of the industry. And he said it is twofold. You might be being entertained, but they are making decisions about what will entertain you. And a great circumstance in which he presented that as evidence of that is transgenderism. And he asked hold on.
Okay.
He asked a question which should be answered. He said to Joe Rogan, and he laughed about it. He was like, a guy wears a dress on the red carpet, okay? And then the media tells you how great he wore the dress. And he's like, he said, tell me one situation where he didn't wear the dress wonderfully, when he didn't wear the dress in a way that was amazing. It's because they have all agreed that this is the narrative. And then he talked about the fact that the record execs also own the publications that are saying that something is amazing or something is not amazing. And that is just plain old-fashioned propaganda. So you don't necessarily need to detach what we're talking about from your concept of what governments are interested in. It's always propaganda.
So I understand Cat Williams has said this. I also understand that Cat Williams was at one point in his life addicted to crack, and I think he's famous for losing a fight to a high school kid. I think this like benched his career for a while.
Okay, you can insult him, but it doesn't.
I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying that
he says 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4.
I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying that to like lean into his testimony, who also we would both acknowledge has a lot to gain by giving like incredulous testimony like this, like saying like, oh my God, these crazy things are happening. Right?
What does he have to
I don't know
gain?
if I would just say, well, right, he does. The fact that you're talking about him and you're citing him and you know it, right? If anybody else was saying a similar thing, we'd say, well, okay, they're saying this because they have something to gain for it, right? He knows that this is going to be a hot take, and he knows that it's going to go viral if he says it, and he knows he's going to get a lot of eyes on him for it. So I think it's...
What does Cat Williams have to gain from saying things like that? If anything, Cat Williams would gain by shutting the fuck up and playing good old boy, not saying shit about saying no to Diddy's parties. Candace Owens using Cat Williams as a anecdotal site of reference is just because of how viral his interview with Shannon Sharpe went. But we've seen countless Hollywood stars that have now disembarked from Hollywood or Hollyweird say this very same thing. I mean, shit, look at all of the child stars that grow up fucked up because of the things that they've experienced, more than likely unwilling to talk about. I really think at this point, Destiny is really just being a contrarian to be a contrarian. And it makes it hard for me, after all of the research and the things that he's done within his life, to get data regarding these things, to really hold this position true. When you have the most amount of money to push the music, well, you can utilize those that are willing to betray their own to push the music, and then insert nuggets throughout their songs as degrading. And I would say it was nuggets years ago. Now it's just blatant, just disrespect of one's own self. It pads their pockets. Songs blow up. Peas pink, my booty hole's brown. I don't know how that became popular. People use it on their TikToks, their reels, other people hear it. And then all of a sudden you have 5-year-old girls singing about it at birthday parties.
Having to teach and work with you guys as children has been the most traumatic experience of my life. I teach 5-year-olds ballet. Heart-wrenching. It's horrifying. It is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm so scared for these little girls today because this is the most insane agenda push I have ever seen.
The mind virus is real. I don't think Destiny really understands it because he's not indoctrinated into the culture. That's why he's putting this on sort of this like economics of music and pushing things to the boundary. I think it's a lot more sinister than that.
Good to call that into question. I think the issue that I have when it comes to the accusation that everything is some top-down level propaganda is I feel like the conversation shifts away from the important stuff, which is why are people attracted to this type of stuff? Why do people vibe with it so much? Why are we replacing traditional better forms of media or more thought-provoking, I don't know what you would call it, forms of media with this type of stuff? Instead of having conversations about the culture and the society, it's all fixated on some weird top-down plot to like control media consumption.
I think you just like to be contrarian because I don't understand the point that you're making here. Like, of course.
Wait, hold on, wait. Let me restate that. I'm sorry. The point I'm making is very clear. If I was going to, I've got a almost 13-year-old son in a few days. Okay. If I was to see that he's consuming media, my go-to would be like, hey, Nathan, why are you watching this? This is crazy. We need to look at something else. I need to, like, who are your friends? What are you looking at online? Like, we need to change your media consumption habits because this isn't working. I would never think like, I think that the school is involved in disseminating media towards him and there's no way that we can change this. Because I feel like on your side of the story, people are basically like, we're hopeless. There's nothing we can do.
No, it's not hopeless, but if you want to be able to do something about something, you need to be able to acknowledge the something.
Yes.
Right?
He set up an ill straw man right there.
You can't make it to make it's a conspiracy. It's like, no, when I graduated high school, there wasn't a single trans kid. Now you've got like more than 50% of kids that think that they're other. That is obviously propaganda. Clearly, it's just not possible that you didn't exist. Maybe there was one person, and then all of a sudden everyone is.
Sure, I think it's okay to
that can only happen.
In order to solve the problem, you have to get to the root of the issue. You have to create the burning platform for people to understand how bad that it actually is, clearly and decisively. Candace Owens, myself, we're attempting to do that in our own little ways.
Only happen through propaganda, right? They're suddenly being told it's an option. They're kids, right? You want to experiment and you want to be different. You're looking for a way to stand out. And so you hold on, and in the classrooms, you've got teachers that are reinforcing this narrative that is, yes, top down, right? It's like Hollywood in lockstep with the Department of Education that is making these options available. If it was natural, like when I graduated high school, there were gay kids. There were lesbian kids. There wasn't a ton of them. It wasn't an identity. That's another thing. The identity thing
the identity
is very new.
An interesting thing. I agree for sure.
And so it shows you who are they emulating? Who are they copying when they do this stuff? Because it's an option. It's just being presented to you. It's obviously not natural if it didn't exist naturally. And
I agree, but culture is a very complicated thing.
Culture is not a complicated thing.
So complicated. I think governments pray that they have the amount of control over culture that you think they do. There's no shot that anybody would be able to top-down control that much stuff.
Like I said, there have been a lot of evidence that has come out, whether you're looking at the Jeffrey Epstein case or you're reading through the 72-page document for the Diddy lawsuit that suggests that the government is involved.
Even on the Jeffrey Epstein case, like what's suggesting government involvement here?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What's suggesting?
Like, what part of the
involvement?
Jeffrey Epstein case is like, oh my God, the government is like playing a part in this?
Well, the fact that he had ties to the Mossad and the CIA, and that when they raided his home, he had his face and about, what was it, 6 different passports? Who can issue passports?
Sure, but when we look at
who can issue you a different identity?
I don't know about different identities, but for passports, I imagine you can get that illegally, or you can just get it from countries depending on citizenship status.
Well,
but what I'm saying is that, like, for when we look at Epstein, right? Epstein was a billionaire, right?
Why was he a billionaire?
Why? Because of trading or whatever he did. I'm not really sure.
No, that's the question. Nobody knows why.
I don't know why. Yeah, but there's like a million different. Sure, there's lots of people where I don't know how they made their money. But to fill in the gaps of all of this with some.
No, you should always know how somebody became a billionaire. Like, that's like a very easy thing. Like, somebody should just be like, I became a billionaire, and you have no idea how. Like,
I'm sure there are tons of people who are billionaires.
I sold the product. You know why Elon Musk has money. You know why Jeff Bezos has money. You should not say we can't connect the dots on how this person became a billionaire that was able to purchase.
Filings are always going to be public. That like, oh well, I can figure out exactly why this person became a billionaire. If they don't work in like public traded companies or something, how will you ever know? There's no way you're going to know that.
He did.
Then what's the question?
That's not a question. It's just nobody understands why Jeffrey Epstein or his brother have billions of dollars.
Well, you just said did he have a ton of shares in publicly traded companies?
What do you mean? Did he have a ton of shares?
Like when we ask, for instance, like, so here's a question. Do you know how Jeff Bezos made his money or how Elon Musk made his money?
I know that Jeff Bezos created Amazon, and I know that Elon Musk has created a ton of things. Tesla, you got Starlink.
Okay, kind of, so not really. Bezos made his money because of the appreciation of shares of Amazon that he had a huge stake in, right? And Elon Musk made.
But we know how that happened.
Initially, it was on PayPal and a couple of ventures, and then because he had a huge equity stake in SpaceX and Tesla, especially. That's where they made their money. Is ownership of stock of publicly traded companies. That's what I'm saying. We can look at those people. We can say we know how they made their money.
Sure.
So I don't think Epstein had massive shares in publicly traded companies, did he? So he wouldn't have made.
Did you actually look into the Epstein case, or are you just, because I can't tell right now if your thing is just to be contrarian?
Okay, hold on.
No, I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you because it seems like you're just like, whatever your position is, I'm going to take the opposite, and I'm going to say something really quickly and try to say, well, how do we know? And it's like, that's actually quite boring.
Sure,
you know what I mean? Like,
so
it's like, dude, like, let's actually have a real conversation, because tons of stuff is happening right now. A lot of stuff is being exposed, right? Mm-hmm. People are, for the first time, able to grasp a theory that finally makes sense, right? It finally makes sense. It makes sense that there is a blackmail ring operating in DC, because we don't understand why we keep sending our politicians to DC, and then it's like they completely serve anybody other than the American people, right? So when that Jeffrey Epstein case got exposed, and if you were following it and reading the documents,
I did follow it. I read the entire document, the 80-page report that came out from the government. They did a report on the prison where he supposedly got killed.
And you're realizing how many artists have stood up and said this exact same thing was going on. Yep. Now you have somebody that has filed something with proof saying it's going on, and then you just have like a Destiny being like, "Oh, what if it's not going on? What if it's not? Whoa.
Okay, well, sure. So here's like a
maybe WAP is just really just that amazing. People just love talking about vaginas and like mopping the floor. It's like you can do that thing, but it's not interesting. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. All right.
It's like,
here's just an easy test question. So,
Candace, you're getting a little catty, girl. But you're a woman, though, so I like it.
I can get my bearings straight. What do you think about the 91 or so indictments for Donald Trump?
What do you mean?
Do you think that those are credible indictments that have credible evidence behind them?
Guys, listen, I'll pause the video right here. They actually went on for at least another hour. Guys, let me know if you want me to go through the rest of this conversation and provide commentary over it. But I do think that the answer to the debate is they're both sort of correct. I think it first started off with what Candace is saying, but now that the music is so infused into the culture to the extent of having 5-year-olds singing this. By the way, what is the system of failure around those 5-year-olds? Each of the mothers, each of the fathers are probably not even present in their lives, to come out into a video where all of those little kids are singing and dancing such a horrific and horrendous song. Think about the failure. But now, since it's been decades without critique of these popular forms of media within our culture, you now have that. And because you have that, then there's an economic push towards more of that, because the young kids are growing up looking at things that were not considered normal 10, 15 to 20 years ago. So in other words, it starts with the propaganda, but once you get the propaganda ball rolling, then there's less need for intervention after that. But I do think that the cases within Epstein and the cases within the Diddy documents, and it's all alleged at this point, it'll be really interesting to see if that's going to be a public trial. I'm gonna have to cover that trial if it is. But shout out to Candace, of course, but shout out to Destiny as well. I think Destiny continuing to get interviews with people who completely disagree with his points demonstrates his ability to further his ideologies and talk to people that don't necessarily agree with him. I mean, it's fantastic for content, even if he never switches his points and positions when he's introduced with information that should make sense to him. Nevertheless, questions, comments, concerns, y'all already know what to do. MediocreTourismReviews@gmail.com. Guys, drop your comments down below. Looking forward to see your guys' comment from this conversation. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.
You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bars on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big guy, the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bars on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big guy, the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. That bars need a fibrillation ASAP. Get boxed with a straight guy. I'm reminded of mind state they lack. Every time that they climb, we go way back. All they wanna be is just